I was a changed person, and I had become my art.
Welcome to the Gentle Finds podcast. Today is a special episode because I'm interviewing someone who I've known my entire life because she was literally at my birth, and she's just one of my aunties. Her name is Stephanie Pierson, and she's got an amazing life story. Stephanie, hi. Thank you for joining.
Hi, Lindsay. Thank you for inviting me. This is so fun.
I know.
This is so fun. And I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to have you. And who knew that your life would turn into what it has? Did you ever know that you would become an artist?
No,
No,
I didn't. I mean, I always liked art as a child, as children do. That was really fun, and arts and crafts. And I've been a great appreciator of art and going to museums and galleries and being a viewer and a patron. But I never thought I'd actually become a working artist showing and selling my work. That's a fun late in life surprise.
Yeah. So originally you were basically working at a school, married the love of your life, had 2 children, and you were living just what an ideal kind of life. Your street, I won't give the location away, but in the group of friends, it was kind of where everybody wanted to live, where Stephanie lived. People even bought houses to live next to you. It's just you.
Well, it's a nice little dead-end street, and with tree-lined dead-end street, and dead-end streets really lend themselves towards good neighbor relations and everybody hanging out in the street. And, without the cars in the way, it just is a really easy place to commune and live and play and be a community together. So, yeah.
And so you really were living kind of a great life. I mean, with all of its ups and downs, with great neighbors. I remember your neighbors and the pool across the street and the tire swing from your tree and just the parties at your house. It was just a wonderful sense of community that you created. You had a hot tub and a garden and a little garage. And so you now have an art studio back there in the garage, right?
The garage ended up getting renovated to be a family room because our house was small and we needed a place for the overflow and for the kids. And so it was the boys' hangout. It was the band practice area. It was video game headquarters.
Yeah.
It was my husband's computer office for a while. And and it never, ever occurred to me it was going to be my art studio.
What was the moment of your life where you would say that there was a new chapter that opened? Like you were living that chapter for a long time and everything was stable.
It was really stable, as much as life can be stable, but it was very stable. And I'd been married for 35 years and my kids were growing up. Our youngest son was finishing college. And Greg and I were looking forward to, our empty nest and our future and retiring and traveling and all those things that you look forward to when you're done raising your kids and working your work. And we went on vacation. It was the day after Christmas, and he so generously invited me to spend a week at the beach, and we'd never done anything like that before, and off we went. And after a beautiful day of riding bikes at the beach and having lunch and having a wonderful, beautiful day, he had a heart attack in our hotel room and died there. And it was very shocking. It was utterly traumatic, and my whole world just fell out from under my feet.
Yeah.
I was away from home. I was in a strange place. I was away from all my familiars, from my people, from my children. And it just was an incredibly, incredibly traumatic, horrible event.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it just, I don't know. It put me into a very, very dark place, a dark hole of grief that just kept getting deeper and deeper. And that went on for a while. And then in conjunction with that, previously to that, 10 years before that, I had been diagnosed with breast cancer.
Okay.
And I had gone through a lumpectomy and radiation and treatment for breast cancer. That was very traumatic. I might have to go back and say, if I'm really going to look at this, like, when did something shift? That probably was the beginning of a shift.
Yeah. But you had Greg through that.
I did.
So that was, yeah.
And so I healed and I went on, though that changed me.
Yeah.
And cracked me open a little bit. And then, so now we're 10 years later and Greg dies while we're on vacation and I'm home and I'm, helping my son get through his last year of college, and I'm going to my job that I didn't feel like doing any of that. But anyway, I got back into the task of living and taking care of myself and my family.
Yeah.
And grieving a lot. And after a few long, dark years, when I just started feeling like, okay, I need to get back to living. I need to start peeking out from this grief blanket and find out what's new for me in my life. Literally, I would say the next day, my doctor called to tell me that something showed up on my mammogram. And I needed to go have some further testing, which I did, and subsequently got diagnosed with breast cancer for a second time. And at the time, I felt it was the breast that was over my heart. This time, the other breast. And at the time, I told my doctor, I know it's my grief. And I felt like I dealt with my emotional grief, but now I had to deal with my physical grief. And so another series of treatments, another lumpectomy. This time I had to have chemotherapy along with radiation, which was a year-long grueling experience that I really would have been okay if I died then, because it was really hard and I felt like why am I still living anyway? I've lost my love and I've had a good life and I have no regrets and I'm okay with dying. But luckily that didn't happen. And I climbed my way through that. And I'm coming out of that going, okay, seriously, really, I need to get back to living and making sense of my new life and what has all this taught me. And
so how long is like a 15-year process?
That was like 15 years. Yeah. That's a long time. I know it sounds so quick, but when you really think about the years in between and the years of that, and so it was the end of that year. It was New Year's. New Year's is always, that time to sort of start a new journey, dust out the old stuff, and so I'm like, okay, that's it. Now I'm healthy again. I'm ready. I'm going to get back into the world, and I went out one evening and ran into a friend and she was on her way to a party and I invited myself along to crash the party. I just was feeling like I need to get out. I wasn't invited, but I said, could I come with you? And she said, sure, why not? So I went to this small little cocktail party and very unexpectedly and with a fun twist of fate, I met a really lovely man there. And we struck up a conversation that lasted for hours. And he was divorced and he had just been through cancer treatment. And we had that in common and we shared our stories. And there was just a lot of chemistry between us. And we subsequently started a relationship that incredibly surprised us both in our later years, and to, have lost our marriages in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And he was an artist. And so then I got really immersed in the art world. He did art every day. We were constantly at galleries and museums and art openings and hanging around with other artists. And art became this really central focus in our lives that we shared. And it was delightful. It was really, really, really fun. And his art was fabulous. And then he started nudging me about doing art and saying he really thought that there was something I needed to express and that there was some art in me that needed to be released. And I was very resistant. I'm like, no, I don't. But
yeah, this is your thing,
not my thing,
not mine.
But he was really good at just nudging and encouraging. And so I had just recently received a big stack of magazines that someone was giving away, and I love magazines. I just love the glossy paper. I love the pictures. And what do you do with magazines? They're so beautiful, and then you look at them, and then what? Then they sit there and collect dust, and that's why this person gave me their magazines. And I said, okay, I think I'll try some collage. I like cut and paste. I love paper. And so I started playing around and cutting up paper, and I had no idea what images I was going to come up with. And I started playing around, and I started gluing on different things with different kind of glues, and I spent a lot of money and ruined a lot of things and made a big mess and got very frustrated. And I kept saying, this is your thing, not my thing. This isn't fun. And I have 6 bottles of glue. They're all stupid. And I loved this beautiful thing I cut out of the magazine. Now I just ruined it. I have to throw it away. And he just kept encouraging and nudging and saying, you're just doing your research. You're just learning. So I kept going under his, his mentoring and his loving enthusiasm. And then, I don't know, but there was a day when I glued a few things together, and it was fabulous. And there was this aha moment of like, oh my God, this looks pretty cool. And it was really fun, and he was so excited. And then a friend came over, and she was so excited about it. Like, what are you doing? I can't believe you're doing this. And she had a friend who ran an art gallery downtown. And so after I made a few pieces, she said, let me take them to the art gallery and get this woman's opinion. So, which was really nice of her to do. And so she took some of my work, and she went away, and she came back and said she'll take 3 in the next show. And so,
wow.
And I was blown away. But so I had my first chance, just right at first, the first place we go, and they're like, yes. And so I had some of my collages in this lovely gallery downtown, and actually sold one of them, which completely blew my mind.
Amazing.
And then I started doing more. So exciting. And then the art gallery gave me another opportunity to put some art in a show. A cute story: when I was there, the gallery manager asked me if my pieces tend to be women, and which I call my paper dolls. And she asked me if I did any images with animals. And I said, no, I don't. I just pretty much women. And she said, oh, too bad, because our next show is going to be Animalia with an animal theme. And if you did animals, you could be in the show. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I do animals. Yeah, did I say I didn't? Oh, yeah.
I just forgot.
Animals, yeah. So I went home, and it was like, oh, my God, animals. Like, okay, that's like new to me. And so then I just turned my animals into women and did some animals, and they were in the show, and sold some more collages. And so subsequently I've had my pieces in many art shows.
It's incredible.
I've been declined a lot at places. I've had to learn to be, a little sturdy about rejection. But I've also had a lot of a lot of opportunities and a really nice reception in a lot of places. And it's fun to hear people's comments or what people see when they see my work. And Tommy and I had the wonderful opportunity of being in many art galleries together for shows, in group shows, where both of our works were accepted. And that was so fun. And he was so proud.
So romantic.
And he was so proud and encouraging and my biggest cheerleader. And that was and then all of a sudden it was like, what am I doing? There's this new man in my life, and now I'm in an art show with him, and it's like, what is this life I'm living? And
how did this happen?
And then his cancer unfortunately came back. It came out of remission. It came back, and after quite a few hospitalizations and failed treatments, he passed away. And there was grief again. There was the dark grief hole. And, we had time to prepare where I didn't have time with my husband to prepare for such a thing. And it was very sudden and shocking. And because both of us had been through cancer, we understood how fragile life is and temporary. And that we both felt like we were, many people don't survive that, and that we were gifted with more time. And when we started our relationship together, we talked about that, and we knew that we didn't know how much time we had together, and we were just going to squeeze every bit of joy and love out of it, which we did. And, it was a brief 5-year relationship, but it was a lifetime as well. And we traveled and shared art and everything. And so I had time to prepare for the loss, but nothing really prepares you for that. You think, okay, I'm ready. I can handle this. We made our peace. We had our goodbyes. He was suffering a lot. I wanted him to not be in pain and sick anymore, but you could just never really prepare for that. And it was during COVID. It was the summer of 2020, so everything was weird.
So isolating.
Anyway. Yeah. And so, I was incredibly crushed and sad, and then just 2 weeks after he passed, I got a call from my doctor again saying something looked funny in my mammogram, and I needed to have more tests. And
oh my God,
breast cancer had come back again.
That's too much.
Yeah, it was too much. And what was curious about it is the 3 times I had breast cancer, they were 3 entirely different types of cancer. They weren't recurrences. And so because of the history, because of the previous radiations that I couldn't have again, mastectomy was really my only treatment option. And so,
and this time it must have been very scary and it must have hit differently because you had just a few days ago witnessed kind of what the worst case scenario is with cancer. Yeah.
So it was COVID. So now I'm going in a hospital, and it was just, I don't know. I was having an out of body experience, I guess.
How else do you
traumatic,
do it?
And it was very bizarre, and I just was shattered, and I had to put the grief away a little bit so I could take care of myself. It's like, okay, yes, that happened, and there's all this. Tommy has 2 lovely daughters, and all the other people who loved and cared for him, and his sister who was in Scotland and couldn't come to be with him because of COVID, and so many people who were suffering, but it was like, well, I have to kind of put that away, and then it just has to be about me right now because I had to get through that and be strong for myself. So I had the surgery. I had a double mastectomy. And then there was, back to that physical healing. There was lots of healing to be done. And And that went on for quite a while. I'd say for 6 months, I felt really shut off, shut down, um, disconnected from joy and art and
Yeah. Like, how could good
everything. I
come
just,
back? You had already gotten
yeah,
your window
yeah,
of good, and then that
yeah.
was taken away.
And,
Yeah.
but I also felt, I mean, I just did not feel any creativity or any ability to just feel anything really. And
Part of that, I wonder if it's because Tommy was gone. It was like, it was your thing with him. I wonder if it
absolutely,
was you had to discover
absolutely,
it by
because
yourself and
it
own it. Yeah.
if he had been there, I could just hear him saying, come on, let's do this. Get your scissors, I'll get my
Yeah.
paintbrushes. And it's like, I don't want to do this without him. And
Mm-mm.
everything we shared was gone. And
Yeah.
then here we come now. So that was in the fall. So now we're coming into the end of the year. Now we're coming to New Year's again. And that time when it's time to, kind of look at what you want to toss away and look at what you want to manifest in your life and a new start. And I thought, okay, really, I've reinvented myself once. I can reinvent myself again. I mean, what's my choice? It's like I need to
Right.
live, and this is a curious journey I'm on that really I couldn't have predicted. And so
No.
I told myself that when the new year came, that I was going to go sit at my table in my art studio and I was going to force myself, I was going to pray for inspiration and force myself to just start doing something. Even though I didn't feel like it,
Mm.
it was really excruciating. And the thing I did the most was just cut magazines up. That was easy. It didn't take, it just, that was more mechanical, but that got me started and just touching the paper again, using the scissors again, looking at images, thinking of color and shape and form and stuff. And I was really praying to Tommy and asking for inspiration. And I thought, it's really in his honor I need to do this. I need to do this because if I let it die now, that just seems really tragic. So
Yeah, because he was the one who
yeah,
inspired it and
yeah.
to begin with. It was important to
And
him to see
and one
this
of
in
his
you.
friends sent me a
Yeah.
lovely message and said while he Tommy created a lot of beautiful art in this world and left a legacy of art that's hanging on many walls in people's homes. He said his greatest legacy is that he turned you on to being an artist. And I thought that was such
I
a
love
lovely
that.
thing to say. And I thought, okay, well then
Mm.
maybe I need to honor this legacy. And
Yeah.
so I really was praying to him and mostly just saying, okay, really, you got me into this now. Help me, help me. And
Yeah. Give me
yes,
your
it's like,
artist
okay. And
magic.
I talked out loud.
You're
I
not
just was
using
like,
it.
come on. And I got a phone call out of the blue from a woman I know who was opening a pop up art gallery for 6 months in downtown. And she was filling them each month with an artist. And she asked me if I would like to have one of the months to show my artwork. And I couldn't believe it. It's like, you're calling me and asking me and giving me a whole gallery to hang all the art can be mine on the walls. And
Yeah.
of course, I said yes. And I was very excited. And that would have been like 7 months from our conversation. So she called me in January, and the show was going to be mine in the gallery in September. And then I hung up. I was super excited. And then I thought, uh-oh, I don't have any art. I I just committed to a show and I haven't been making any art, and now I have to make art or I have to call her up and say no, and I wasn't going to do that. And so
Yeah.
there was my gift, my inspiration, the answer to my prayer. And so I
Wow.
started. It was hard. um, it was it was a lot of work. It's a lot of, it's like it's fun sometimes and sometimes it's not fun, but you have
Mm-hmm.
to do it. You have to
Yeah.
show up and you have to do the thing. And so I just started, but I was excited about the possibility. And then I had agreed with the woman that I could show Tommy's art as well at the art show. So it was going to be a joint show of his art and my art, which looks really beautiful together, as we did. And
Oh.
and so I started, creating, and the flow came back, and I really put together some beautiful pieces. And at one point when I was sitting out there and I was cutting up these images and I was cutting women, like I'll tear a woman out of, I use a lot of fashion magazines, but, and then I'll cut her head off and cut her arms off. And I was doing a lot of breasts. A lot of my images have breasts in them for obvious reasons. And so I was cutting up the
Yes.
breasts and cutting up everything. I just had this great epiphany
Processing.
that I was a collage, that I
Wow.
had
Yeah.
been cut up, glued back together,
Literally.
in a new
Yeah.
way. And that I was a changed person and that I had become my art. And it was just kind of trippy, but true. But
That
true.
is.
And
Yeah.
that gave me a lot of it. That was a very healing thought to have. There's the feeling of being damaged and being sick, of being damaged, of being scarred, which are all really negative
Mm-hmm.
thoughts. But when I thought of it in terms of just being reassembled like a collage, to take one beautiful picture and turn it into a different beautiful picture in just a transformative kind of way, it was really healing to think about myself that way instead of feeling damaged.
Yes. Yeah. Because in the end, it's
Hmm.
beautiful.
And it just also, there's a Japanese term and technique, right?
I know this. Yes. I think about that a lot too.
So it's
Yes. Go ahead.
Kintsugi. And
Yes. I love it.
Tommy and I I had just learned about it, and Tommy and I were at a friend's digging some plants up in the garden, and he accidentally broke one of her beautiful pottery pots that was on her patio, and it was like,
Yeah.
uh-oh. And then she said, oh, that's okay.
Yep.
That was just the first gift my husband gave me on our first date when we went to this artist studio. It was like, uh-oh. She was very gracious about it, like it's no big deal. But then she tells the story, and it's like, oh
Right.
my God.
Don't
Yeah,
feel
don't feel
guilty.
bad. And she kind of tucked it away in the garden. She was leaving the next day to go on a European vacation. And we went home and he just felt horrible about it. And
I'm
I
sure.
said, let's go back tomorrow when she's not home. We'll get that and we'll do the kintsugi. We'll glue it back together. And I told him about this
We'll
stuff. And so
kintsugi
we
it.
went over there, very stealthily, and snuck around in the bushes and got the pot and washed it. And then we did that. We glued it back together and then painted the seams. He painted the seams with gold paint. And then we put it back on their porch with a note. And they were so thrilled and so excited about it.
Oh.
And then, so then I just, at this time, that I was doing the collages and thinking that I'd become a collage, I was just thinking about kintsugi in terms of that in
Yeah.
my life. And that the thought that
Yes.
something that appeared to be damaged, when it gets put back together and then the seams are painted gold, it becomes stronger and more beautiful than it was before. And that thought of
Mm-hmm.
um, wabi sabi, finding perfection in the imperfection, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
There's so much to unpack. You've been through
it's,
so
it's a lot.
much. I mean, yeah, like just hearing this story, I'm like, well, do we focus on the mastectomy? Do we focus on, yeah, it's just amazing. And through it all, you've been so strong. And I think it's interesting in the beginning, you were saying, oh, just forget it. I've had a good life and this can just end because it's miserable. And then after Tommy, I would have thought it was almost worse because of what you'd been through, losing two loves of your life and witnessing Tommy's decline. But almost like the artworks that you're describing, it does sound like you found some new strength. And you said it's hard, and I think of people trying to exercise and training for a marathon, and it sounds a little bit like that. Like you have no desire to get out there and go out to the garage and do the artwork. But to honor Tommy, and also you knew that it was the only way forward, I think, because you needed to patch yourself back together.
I really did. It is a lot of work. And I think every artist, writer, musician,
Yeah.
painter, sculptor would tell you that it's a lot of work and it's not always fun. But there's some inner drive, some inner need that you need to write these words on paper. You need to play these chords on the piano. You need to put this color on paper. And you need to do it, and it doesn't always feel good, and it can be frustrating. I mean, that's one of the things that I've really had to learn and accept and be patient with, is that it's not like it's all, people say, oh, it must be really fun doing that. Oh, these are so fun. You must really have a lot of fun doing that. And it's like,
no,
yeah,
it always
not
looks
always.
Easy, right? Yeah.
Sometimes it's not fun. Yeah. But you have to, if you want to do it, you have to do it when it's not fun too. And be patient and let it emerge. And I think that was a lesson that I learned in my healing, is you have to be patient and you have to do the hard work. You have to have the treatments, take the medicine, do the physical therapy, do the things to get yourself back to health and well-being. And
because just with an artwork, you want to snap your fingers.
Well, there's a lot of
and have it be done, and same thing with healing.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I just want to be well now, and I just and it's like, no, I went to physical therapy for a year, and I was really I was very disabled by the surgery and my arms and my strength, and I had to build that back up again. And in the same way, I had to build up my creativity and my artistic flow again. And it was I was doing that simultaneously. Luckily, my art was something that was pretty gentle on my arms. I wasn't, carving granite or something that I probably wouldn't have been able to get back to, but it just kind of it meshed together. And then when I had the epiphany that I had become a collage, it was just, there was a bit of joy and relief in that.
Yeah, there's definitely a beauty to that. It's, and there's also an aspect to your story of finding a part of yourself that's such a pillar of who you are later in life. Because I think so many people in their 20s expect to be fully grown. You get to 18, even my daughter who's 4 is, like, okay, I don't need you anymore. I'm done. Like, I'm grown up now.
Right.
And you get to a certain point in life and you expect to be done, and you expect to know who you are, know what you're capable of. I kind of have this vision of your life that way, like that you kind of were living in such a stable way, and you kind of knew how everything was supposed to be and who you were. And then, this detour happened.
And then the bottom dropped out.
But it also is reassuring to people to hear, I'm sure, that it's always nice to hear that somebody finds and discovers this piece of themselves, that there's more to us.
Yeah, and I think, it did surprise me that because this happened later in my life, and you're right, when you're younger and you feel like I'll do this and this and this and this, and then
Hmm.
I'll be all set and I'll have all
Yeah.
my ducks in a row, and then I'm just gonna
Yeah.
live the good life. And most people who live any length of time realize that that's a
Right.
foolish notion. And but it was very fun to discover, like, the art. I was in
Yeah.
my 60s,
I
and
love
to
that.
discover something new and fun and fresh, because I think about when I was a little girl, being in your 60s was, as
Yes.
old as the hills, and nobody did anything new or interesting in their
It's not the
60s,
same
and
anymore.
and it's just so well, and it's so
Mm-mm.
not true either. And it's not the same. And there's so I do feel really excited about sharing that story with people who feel like their lives done. They had their kids,
Hmm.
they had their marriage, they had their job, they had their adventures, and now and the whole thought of being
Right.
retired. And it's like there's a whole new there's so much to still discover. We have so much about
Yeah.
ourselves, all of us, that we haven't even
Yeah.
discovered or tapped into. And when you're very busy working and raising kids and cleaning the house and going to the grocery store and cooking the meals and worrying about making ends meet, you know, it's really hard to
Hmm.
be creative. So you also have to have the
Yeah.
time to do that, the time to write, or the time to paint, or the time to glue collage. And it's hard if you have little kids running around. You need. So I realized that it also was a perfect setup in my life because I had the space. I turned the boys' playroom into
Yeah.
my art studio, had and I had so much more time to relax and
Hmm.
create and be in that. And I think, that that's an exciting prospect for people who are
Yeah.
older and who are in a new phase of their life, who are retiring or empty nesters, and can make time to tap
Hmm.
back into
Yeah. I think a lot of
that
people in their middle age who are in that
flourish.
same situation, moms, you're sacrificing a lot of yourself, especially new moms are so shocked by this when they
Right,
have a new baby. Like, where
right,
did the old me
right,
go and when will I meet her again? And
right.
yeah, you're consumed
Uh-huh.
with dinners and just making sure that everyone else's life uh, goes along as it
Mhm.
should.
But it's two parents
Oh,
that are
yeah.
exhausted, that are, you know, taking care of business from all
Right.
ends of what it takes to keep a family going and a home going and keep everybody well and healthy. And it's exhausting, and there's not a lot of energy
But even
left to then
yeah, like
sit down
sharing
and
your space with other people is
Mhm.
something
Right,
for your mental state. It's like your
right,
attention is focused on other people rather than internally on yourself.
right.
And so yeah, it is you finally had space in your life. The boys probably wouldn't have wanted you to turn that
Mhm.
into an art studio when they were working on their band,
No,
yeah, or their video
yeah,
games.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, no. And I realize you need a space that's set up with all your supplies
mm,
at all times so that you can plunk into that at
yeah,
any moment. Lots of mornings I'd get up in my nightgown and get a cup of coffee and go sit at my work table, and hours would go by and I'd
yeah,
still be in my nightgown. But if you have to set it up and take it down every time, for example, if you're
yeah.
using your dining room table and you have to set all your supplies up, and then it's dinner time and you have to put all your supplies away, and then you have to set them up again, it's hard to be in the flow
I
with
can see
that.
that.
And then you think, oh, I just don't have it in me to settle, because then I'll have to take it all apart. So I'm
Yeah,
not going to do it. And I realized, it's a luxury to have a space
it
like a
is. Yeah.
studio where you can have all your supplies spread out. I can be in the middle of creating something and walk away from it. Nobody's going to touch it, mess with it. I don't
No
have to move
toddlers.
it. And I can just, no
Scissors.
toddlers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can just
Yeah.
pop in and out whenever I want. And that has made a huge difference to have that space.
And there's a quote on your website. You said you were working a lot with images of women. And there's a quote on your website that I saw that I just wanted to talk about, because you say, "My vision memory is replete with countless childhood hours patiently and meticulously cutting out paper dolls. These childhood ventures helped my evolution, helped create the identity of the mature woman I am today. The grown woman now employs sharper scissors, has a sharper critical eye. The prepubescent, innocent images of my childhood are replaced by the sensual, slick, smooth visions of women found in the myriad of glossy magazines today. A single image presents itself to me, and thus begins the inevitable search for its intuitive companions. This search is a kind of shuffling around of my subconscious. The act of cutting elements into pieces reveals the larger mystery of the female form, the female persona. When elements are separated from the original image, then reassembled, this random imagery creates a new history." So I was thinking about the act of cutting elements into pieces reveals the larger mystery of the female form, the female persona. And I was thinking about that, reading that, because to me in my life, you've been this strong woman model for just what a woman should be and how we are in the world. And I was wondering how your idea of women and femininity or feminism, any of these concepts has been affected by your art, or if you've had your ideas are in that art around women, or is it just something that you're working on and you're just sort of exploring as you go?
Well,
that's a big question. I should have warned you about that one beforehand. I just we can go back to that.
Well, let's go back to the mystery of women. I mean, it's a mystery. I don't know. I think, I was raised, my mother during my childhood was divorced for a time. And she was a very strong, intelligent woman. And that was a time when in my neighborhood, I had the only family that was divorced. Everyone else had a pretty traditional, mom stayed at home and worked at home, and dad went out into the workforce. And so I had this model of this very strong, capable woman who was being both parents and working and handling it all. And she also was incredibly beautiful and looked like a model and was a fashion plate. And I was fascinated by clothing and nail polish and lipstick and all those things. And then when I went to college, I got into the women's studies department, and that was a new major, a new field to study in college. And I just became completely swept away by that at a time. It's that juncture in your life where you're leaving your childhood behind and you're becoming your grown-up self, and you're becoming more worldly and educated. And it was just, I'm so grateful that I was there at that time when that was, the civil rights movement and the women's movement was all exploding, and certainly set me on a trajectory into feminism and equality and civil rights, and, seeing women in more varied ways than my 50s and 60s upbringing had presented them to me, but also seeing in my own mother, how she was in the world. And so that opened my mind up to women in all the ways that women are and can be, and everything they do and could do, and the possibilities of what is available. And so the images that I make, I don't know what's coming out of me when I make them. I think women are incredibly beautiful, strong, mysterious, fascinating creatures. And so I cut these pieces up, and then I just start playing around with them, and then these people emerge in my life, and I don't know who's coming when I'm making the stuff, and sometimes I'm focused on little tiny pieces and parts, and it's not till it's all laid out and pieced together that this being gets
Yeah.
born, I guess, for lack of a better word, that this creation comes through, and it's like, well, hello, who are you? Nice to
You've
meet
given
you.
birth to them. Yeah.
And it's so fun giving them names, and often I feel very critical because I see it as a pieces. I
Yeah.
don't see it as a whole for a long time because I've had to obsess about every little part of it. But when I walk away from it and take some distance and then come back and look at it again, like we were talking at the beginning with life, you step back, you get some perspective. But then when I come and I look at them again, I see this whole being. I see this image in this person, and I just think they're all my subconscious coming out. My son said that to me the other day. He was looking, I have a lot of them hanging on the wall in my art studio, and he was looking at him and he said, Mom, this is just all you. I just see you in every single one of
Amazing.
these things. And I think it is just my subconscious. I mean, they're
Yeah.
playful and they're fun, but they're also, they're also deep, and they're brave, and they're um, a
Yeah.
little damaged.
And you seal each one with a kiss. Is that right? Yeah.
I do. I do. So yeah, funny because when I was growing up, I really did not like, we all don't like our looks,
Right.
right? There's something we don't like, and I just felt like my mouth and my teeth were too big. And so all the smiles when I was little, I had my lips shut and hiding my smile. And sometime a long time ago, I heard someone talking about beauty, and they said that the thing you don't like the most when you're growing up about your features will end up being your
Mm.
best feature. And I think that's an interesting thought. And I thought about my not liking my big smile and my big mouth, but I
Mm-hmm.
think that's true.
Now you love it.
And I
Yeah.
love lipstick. Yeah, I love lipstick. And so lips
Mm.
are in all my pieces for the most part, except for maybe every now and then, maybe one that doesn't have lips. But all my pieces have lips. That kind of, as I was looking for my style and my signature look or my thing, the lips emerged. And it's like, okay, all right. And then I don't know, at some point I just thought, oh, I'm just going to kiss the backs of all of them. And so,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I
I think
do
that's
that.
true. About the body image thing. It reminds me of when I was little, I had a birthmark on my leg that basically spanned my knee up to my hip, which was really large.
Uh-huh.
And my only experience of it was my sisters and my family telling me how beautiful it was. And by being given that message, that's all I ever thought it was. I thought it was what made me unique. I believed them. And it never even
Hmm.
occurred to me that it would
Uh-huh.
be something to be ashamed of or that somebody might not like
Uh-huh.
me because of that. So yeah, I think that there's so many, there's another episode to do on body image stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and we do, yeah, because it's all that you were supposed to look a certain way, and this is what's acceptable, and this is what you want to strive for. I mean, I see an interesting thing in the magazines that I've seen. In some of the magazines I have that people
Mm.
give me are older. Some of
Yeah.
them are new currently, this dec this year, the last couple of years, and some are older. But and we're slow. The change is slow in terms of women's, what the media projects as a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
But I see in the magazines now so much women of many different nationalities and colors,
Yes.
and women of many different body
Yeah.
types, and a lot more full-figured women, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot more women with bellies and booties and thighs, and fleshy women and thin women, and pregnant women and older
Mm.
models that have gray hair
Yeah.
and models that have wrinkles, and I see that more
Mm.
now. And and then I try to make sure that I'm projecting that in my work so that I use a lot of different diverse
Yeah.
images, and that's good to see. I notice that
Yeah.
too when I'm in stores, the mannequins.
Mm-hmm.
I notice that stores now the
Yeah, that
mannequins
it
are,
reflects reality somehow.
they're
Yeah.
not just beige flesh
Mm.
tone and they're not just size
Yeah.
8, but they're bigger and they're a variety of colors, and that's really good.
Um,
And just on another note that's completely different, but I feel good about the idea that I'm repurposing magazines,
yeah.
which
We're all
whole
resistant to
nother
throw them
story
away.
too, about but about reusing
Yeah,
things. It's just another way of reusing something, so it just isn't completely ending up in the
that's
trash.
true.
And because each magazine is like a book of
I
art,
know.
and
And then we don't know what
and
to
so
do with them because, yeah, I totally relate to that. I've had stacks of
mhm,
magazines that are beautiful. They have beautiful images. I'm
uh-huh,
like, I'll use these for a vision board or something.
yeah,
But yeah. Um,
we'll send them to me.
yeah, okay. Okay, you're taking donations of
Yeah,
magazines. All
I
right.
am taking
I'm
donations.
sure.
It was very cute. My nephew, who is a grown man, at Christmas this year gave me this lovely gift, and I opened it up, and it was some magazines. And the first one I looked at was Do It
Mm,
Yourself Woodworking, and I was like, that's he's a contractor, and I thought, is he trying to get me to get into a new craft? And then the second one was guitar playing, and I don't play the guitar, and it was Christmas, there was a lot going on, but I was thinking, well, these are really curious subjects. I wonder why he bought me these. And he went, wait, they're for your collages. I know you don't play guitar. He said, he said they have really cool images in them, and I wanted to buy you some stuff that you might not have for your
that's so cute.
collages, which was so cute and so thoughtful. But he said, "Oh my God, magazines are so expensive. I had no idea."
Yeah.
So he picked out four really nice, and he went to the bookstore and he picked out four really nice, fancy magazines, which ended up costing him like $50 or something.
Oh my God.
And he was shocked. But anyway, I have yet to cut them up. I need to crack them open,
There are
and
women
start
waiting to
cooking.
be discovered, Stephanie.
There are somewhere in that do-it-yourself woodworking magazine
Okay.
is a woman waiting to be born.
Yeah.
This is all just kind of emerging as my story. I've been busy living in it, but now just talking about it
Yeah.
sort of takes on a shape and a form and a story. So thanks for
Yeah.
giving me an
It's
opportunity to
gotta,
tell my story.
yeah. It is quite a story.
I do
I
hope it
hope,
inspires people, and people who are going
yeah.
through tragedy and loss and illness and retirement, and you know inspires them to you know
To know that there's more.
there is
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
It's more. It's hard to remember that when you're dealing with all the responsibilities and challenges of life.
Mm-hmm. We're
I
never
have amazing
finished.
gratitude. I have, above all, I have amazing gratitude that number one, I'm still alive, and that I've had the men in my life I had, the artist in my life who inspired me, the dear friends, you included, who've,
Mm.
without my friends, the Beatles said, I get by with a little help from my friends. And
Yeah.
without my friends, I would not be here, and I would not
Yeah.
be enjoying all of that life has to offer right now. I'm
Mm.
very grateful for the care that I've had and the support that I've had to get me through those difficult times.
Yeah.
That was so
Yeah.
fun. Yes, Tommy and I crammed a lot into our short 5 years.
Mm.
But again, and I think, unfortunately, until we're faced with a scary, um, life-threatening situation, sometimes we just get really complacent and we forget how temporary and fragile our lives are. And it's not until something shatters that illusion that we start to get really grateful and careful about the privilege and the the opportunity. And I'm very aware that there's no guarantee for tomorrow.
Right.
And all there is right now, right here. And,
that's Steve Jobs. He said that in the morning when he would wake up, he would remind himself that he was going to die. And
yeah.
And I think that's so true, because we try to learn how to live in the present, but I think that that's a step we can take to really live in the present.
Yeah.
Because when you realize this isn't forever.
And when you're facing a life-threatening illness like cancer, it smashes your face into that. Every day you don't even have to imagine it. You're just going, oh my God, is this it? Is this it? God. And it really, and so the tragedy of that, the trauma of that becomes the gift. If you can embrace that, if you can really incorporate that and keep that in the front of your everyday thinking, it's a wonderful gift. And, and Tommy and I had that simultaneously together.
You weren't with a partner who you had to explain how to live in the present.
So we never hesitated to stop and look at the clouds, look at the light in the sky, look at a flower, hear some music, enjoy art, eat some food, taste something that was delicious. Every, cup of tea, whatever, was amazing to us. And that's a wonderful feeling. To be able to appreciate that, because we are all so blessed with so much that we take for granted.
Yeah. They say that it's helpful to find happiness through writing gratitude journals. Like if you just can write down 5 things you're grateful for each day. And I think the way you're describing living with Tommy is living with that all the time.
Yeah, it was that.
And so,
it was that for sure.
That's how you should live. I mean, yeah. You did it. You did it right.
Well, let's see if I can keep it up.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah.
It's not like I think I have this all figured out.
Right. Let's be clear.
Disclaimer here. Yeah, let's be clear. I'm just making this up as I go.
Right.
But yeah, so far.
But you've learned some things. Yeah.
I've learned a lot of things.
You've been through stuff that a lot of people haven't been through, and a lot of people are going through. Yeah. So I think it's really a story to listen to and to glean some things from.
Well, and I always feel inspired and encouraged when I hear other people's story about conquering challenges, about being a brave warrior.
Yes.
Because me. I want to hear about everyone's cancer story who survived cancer and went on to have a wonderful life.
On any given day, we can be bothered by the smallest, most mundane things, that our coffee didn't turn out with the right flavor, right? And then, so knowing these stories, it's like, okay, well, if they can do this, and they had, they had that going on in their life, then I can deal with my coffee.
Right. And the media's just very good about telling us all the bad things that are going on in the world and all the things that aren't working and all the tragedies, and we can become really inundated with fear and worry and stress about all the hardships in life. And it's nice to be reminded that there are good things happening and there is healing happening, and that cancer isn't a death sentence, and you can discover new things about yourself in your later years.
Yeah, and that there's magic along the way. I remember there was a story about how you met Tommy, an aspect to it that I remember you telling me that you didn't mention, which was you were in the house and you were like, okay, well, I feel like I'm ready, to meet someone and to have a little bit going on, but that's not going to happen if I don't leave the house, right?
Right.
And it was just that decision that changed everything for you.
Yeah. And
Because
it
you said they're
is
not
true.
going to come knocking on the door.
I just
Yeah.
was telling that to one of my friends who lost her husband, and she's, she's depressed and she's been having a hard time finding her new way. And I was just talking about that and saying, I mean, I wish it was as simple as someone's going to knock at the door and say, "Hi, I hear you're sad and you're lonely, and I'm here to bring great things into your life." And it's like,
and I'm perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
No.
And you have to,
Never.
you have to go out. You have to go out into the world
Yeah.
and look for what you want and be a part of it. And I saw a great quote one time that said, which I ended up copying and putting on my refrigerator, that said, "If your ship doesn't come in, swim out to it."
Mm.
And I thought that was a good image for me of, and back to the art is work. You have to do the work. Healing is work, and living is work. Relationships are work. And you don't, there's, hopefully it's worth the work and the fun and the joy and the success you feel, but you have to work it.
Yeah. And taking action, life will offer you things, but you have to be at the same time simultaneously working with it and taking action.
Right.
I remember going through my hard time, which pales in comparison to your story, but and telling myself, just take action, just do things,
Right.
just keep moving. Right. And if you keep moving, life will happen.
Yes.
And it really did. It really
It's true.
changed.
It's hard to do that when you feel bad and when you feel fear.
So hard.
And you feel paralyzed, and it's hard to trust that. I mean, I think as you get older, you see how, I think one of the reasons I didn't fall into as dark of depression as I did after my husband died is I saw how that momentum propelled me into a new friends and a new craft and a new life. And I knew that it's just like, oh, I just have to do that work again, like, oh, this is going to be so hard. But you do just have to do that. And somebody, I wish I could remember this quote and who said it, but I just read it recently, but it was something about how that luck is just action.
Yes, luck is just preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I thought that was really good too, because people go, "Oh, you're so lucky." You're so lucky. This is like, oh no, I worked at this. This isn't just luck. This is work.
Yeah.
This is one foot in front of the other. This is going out. This is movement and action and opportunity, and then stuff happens.
And staring at a blank piece of paper. For how long? You're sitting in there in the garage staring at a blank piece of paper going, what's going to happen? And life is that way. You're like, okay, I've got this blank slate in front of me.
Yeah.
And I've got to make a collage out of this.
Yeah.
I have to create a life for myself. Yeah.
And I think everybody's really, after you've lived some years, everybody's a collage. When you think about what you've been through and what you had to cut away and what you glued on yourself and you think about the scars that come from a body well lived, or your birthmarks or your whatever, we're all these pieces of things that just keep becoming more of that as we get older and we have more adventures and more experiences and more joys and more losses. And I don't know, there's something very mystical about the whole collage concept to me.
Yes. I wish we would see people more, or be more willing to see people that way, because we do so often want to put them in boxes. It's like, what boxes do you check? Okay, we don't go beyond those walls. But if we were willing to see people as collages, I think we could allow ourselves to be so much more, because I think we're trying to fit into those boxes, and so many of us are so much more.
Right.
Yeah. This could go deep.
It could.
So where can people find you?
So I have a website, StephaniePearsonArt.com.
Okay.
And I also have an Instagram page, which is Stephanie Pierson Art.
Okay. I'll tag you in social media stuff.
Yeah, my Instagram's linked to my website.
Okay.
And then on my website, I also have listed whatever current shows that I have artwork in.
Okay.
Which currently, as we speak, I have a piece in an online show at the DeYoung Museum in San Francisco.
That's so great.
So they have a show of Alice Neal's pictures of people, her portraits, and they did a call to artists for artists to send their pictures of people, and I did. And so they have this is running in conjunction with the Alice Neal show, and it's on the DeYoung website. And then I believe it's in the gallery as well, and I'm thinking maybe they have a computer set up or a monitor or something where those images are filtering through. Yeah.
Okay, well, I will be tagging you so that everyone can find you, and I'll put you on my website so everyone can find you too.
Okay, thank you.